Okay, so we all remember seeing it, right? Johnny does something bad, and Johnny's teacher has Johnny stand up and parades him in front of the classroom and make sure that everybody knows just how bad he's being. Meanwhile, the teacher's trying to kind of prove how well he's given Johnny the business. Or, right, like Johnny gets marched in front of the room to publicly go up to the clip chart and move his clip down from green to red. Is this really the best way? Is embarrassing Johnny in any of these ways going to accomplish the thing that we're trying to accomplish? In this video, we're going to talk all about why embarrassing students in school is an ineffective strategy. Firstly, embarrassing students can damage their self-esteem and self-confidence. So according to a study that was published in the Journal of Educational Psychology, students who are frequently embarrassed in the classroom tend to have lower levels of self-esteem and self-confidence. No surprise there. As students with low self-esteem, they're actually less likely to engage in the classroom, and they're more likely, get this, to drop out. In another study, researchers found that students who were frequently embarrassed by their teachers were more likely to have negative attitudes towards school and were more likely to engage in disruptive behavior. And so this is because when students feel embarrassed or ashamed, they tend to kind of disengage from the learning process and become less motivated to actually positively participate. By embarrassing them, you're actually right back to square one with more misbehaviors than we even started with. And finally, embarrassing students can damage the relationship between the student and the teacher. When a teacher embarrasses a student, it creates this ugly power dynamic that can be really difficult to overcome. Students start to see their teachers as this authority figure who is out to get them, rather than an authority figure who is trying to support them and help them to learn and help them to grow. So, if embarrassing students is the ineffective strategy, what can educators do instead? Firstly, remember that every student is very different, and they respond to different types of feedback. Some students might respond really well to positive reinforcement, while some students might benefit from really direct constructive criticism. It's important to know and get to know your students all the time better and better to figure out what types of feedback work best for each student. And then once you know what works best for them, it's best to implement that feedback in a way that doesn't single that student out in front of their peers. Find ways to have discreet conversations with the student. If you're going to criticize or find fault, do that privately. Quietly pull the student aside during or after class to discuss the behavior privately. And this is actually going to preserve your classroom environment that you've been working so hard to create. Secondly, it's really important to employ questioning when you have private conversations with a student about his or her mistakes. If it's the behavior that you're trying to correct, ask the student quite simply, what the heck is going on? What's happening? What do you hope to accomplish by having this behavior? And how is that aligned to your goals in life and in school? Or perhaps the issue is academic. Maybe that student just doesn't understand the slope, line, intercept after you've explained it 100 times and created 100 lessons for it. So rather than embarrass that student after they get the answer wrong again and again and again, ask what they don't understand. And finally, and this one's hard, I know, but make it a goal to always communicate with students in a really respectful and empathic way. Like if a student's misbehaving or are struggling in class, it's important to talk to them in a way that's really supportive and understanding. So what this does, it can help a student feel heard, it can make them feel valued, and it can make it even more likely that they'll be receptive to that feedback that you might have to give them in the future. Don't let the student rile you up, and be sincere in your desire to manage that misbehavior. So in conclusion, while it may be tempting to embarrass students in order to get them to behave or learn, it is so important to remember that this is an ineffective strategy that can have negative and long-lasting effects. So by creating a positive and supportive and inclusive classroom environment and communicating with students in a respectful way, in an understanding and empathic way, educators can help students to thrive and succeed. And I think that's what we're all here for, isn't it? All right, guys, we'll see you in the next video.